You've been there, right? You pour your heart and soul into a video. You know the idea is brilliant. And then, crickets. Just a handful of views. It's so frustrating. You start wondering, what am I doing wrong? Is it my camera, my editing? Well, what if I told you it's probably none of those things?
This right here, this is the core idea from creator strategist Callaway. He says the real difference maker, the thing that separates a video that flops from one that totally takes off, it's not the fancy gear. It's the script. The script is the literal blueprint for everything you see on screen. So it kind of feels like there's some secret sauce, right? Some hidden knowledge that the top creators are keeping to themselves. So what is it? What do people like Mr. Beast or Ali Abdaal know about writing scripts that we don't?
Well, the good news, it's not magic. And it's not some secret handshake. It's a proven framework. A repeatable process that's been tested and refined over literally billions of views. And that's what we're going to do in this explainer. We're going to break that framework down for you step by step.
Okay, so before we get into the practical how-to stuff, we've got to understand the why. We need to start with the one single psychological principle that makes this whole thing tick.
And this is it, right here. Expectations versus reality. It sounds simple, but this is incredibly powerful. See, a viewer clicks on your video with an expectation in their head, an idea you planted with your title and thumbnail. Your job, your only job, is to deliver a reality that completely blows that expectation out of the water. You know, it's pretty simple. When the reality of your video is way better than they hoped for, you've got them. They're hooked. But if their expectation is higher than what you actually deliver, poof! They're gone. Think about it like giving a public speech. You're terrified, you expect to totally bomb, right? So your expectations are on the floor. But then you get up there and you do, okay. That reality just crushed your low expectations and you feel amazing. Your video has to create that exact same feeling for the viewer.
And this is what the pros call the black magic of viral content. Seriously. Just getting your head around this one single dynamic, always making the reality better than the expectation, that is the key that unlocks this entire framework we're about to walk through.
All right, so let's jump into the first practical step. And this is so important. This happens before you even think about writing a single word of your script. This is where the whole game is won or lost, right here.
Get this. According to creator Ali Abdaal, a whopping 80% of a video's success is decided right at this stage. The idea itself, the title and thumbnail, they do almost all of the heavy lifting. If you nail this part, you've already massively stacked the odds in your favor.
And this is a brilliant example of what that looks like in practice. Ali Abdaal had an idea for a video about self-worth, but he did his homework. He did some research and realized that videos titled "How to Be More Confident" got way more views. So what did he do? He made the exact same video with the same core message, but he just repackaged it. He changed the wrapping to meet a bigger demand. Same content, but suddenly a much higher potential for success.
So, just to be super clear, before you start writing, you have to lock in these three things. First, what's the core pain point you're actually solving for someone? Second, you've got to craft a title that opens up this irresistible curiosity loop in their brain. And third, you need a thumbnail that makes a powerful visual promise. Once you have those three dialed in, and only then, are you ready to actually start writing the script.
Okay, now we can finally get to the scripting. And those first 5 seconds, the hook, they are absolutely, positively critical. You worked hard with your packaging to earn that click. Now your job is to make sure they stick around.
A really great hook has to do two things at once. First, it has to confirm the click. It needs to immediately validate the promise you made in the title. So if your title is, "I spent 100 hours in a pyramid," the very first thing you say is something like, "Okay, I'm inside a pyramid." That checks the box, meets their expectation. But then you immediately create intrigue to exceed it. You add, "and I've got access to a chamber no one has seen in 1,000 years."
And look, you don't have to reinvent the wheel here. There are a few proven types of hooks that you can just plug and play. You can make a bold, controversial statement like, "Everything you think you know about productivity is wrong." Or you can ask a super relatable question that they desperately want the answer to. Or you can frame it as an experiment. "I tried X for 30 days, and here's what happened." These simple formulas just work.
Okay, so you've got them, they're hooked, you won those critical first few seconds. Now, how do you build on that? Let's talk about the body of the script. This is where you have to deliver on that big promise you made.
So to make sure every single point you make lands and actually provides value, just use this simple little structure: what, why, and how. First, you state your point clearly. That's the what. Then you explain why this point is so important for the viewer. That's the why. And finally, you show them how they can actually apply it in their own life. That's the how. Do this for every point and your content will be incredibly clear and super actionable. Now, how do you connect all those points together and build some real narrative tension? Well, you can borrow a trick from, believe it or not, the creators of South Park. Their rule is to avoid telling a story that goes, this happens, and then this happens, and then this happens. It's boring. Instead, you built a chain of cause and effect using two little words, but and therefore. So it becomes, this happens, but that creates a totally new problem, therefore we have to do this. See how that creates forward momentum? It just keeps people wanting to know what's next.
And here's a little power tip to keep that momentum going strong. In between each of your big points, you need to rehook your viewer. Just create a little mini cliffhanger. Say something like, now that first step is crucial, but honestly, it's pretty much useless if you don't also know this next part. That little trick keeps their attention from wandering off. All right, let's talk about the final piece of the puzzle, the script structure, the outro. So many people treat this as just an afterthought, but a really powerful finish can be the difference between a viewer just clicking away forever and a viewer who decides to stick around and subscribe. Okay, so this is critical. Whatever you do, never signal that the video is ending with one of those weak, generic outros. The second you say, all right guys, thanks for watching, you've basically just told them, hey, it's time to leave. Instead, you want to use what Ali Abdaal calls an end-screen sales pitch. You seamlessly transition into telling them why they absolutely need to watch your next video. That's how you create a binge-watching loop.
And hey, remember that big psychological principle from the beginning? Expectations versus reality? Well, this is your last chance to slam that point home. You need to prove one last time that the reality of watching your content was way better than they expected. Callaway has a great analogy for this. He calls it the free chocolate that a good restaurant gives you with the check. It's that final little reminder of the value you delivered, leaving them with a great feeling.
So, okay, we've covered the framework, we've covered the psychology, we've gone through the step-by-step process. But there is one last kind of invisible ingredient that pulls this entire thing together.
Because at the end of the day, a script is just words on a page. It's a starting point. And as Colin and Samir always say, a technically perfect script is totally lifeless if the person making it isn't genuinely in love with the topic. Your energy, your passion, your unique way of seeing the world, that's the magic ingredient that no formula can ever replicate. You have to actually be having fun. So after all the tactics, all the frameworks, it really boils down to this one question. This whole framework, it's just a tool. It's a tool to help you give structure to your passion. The real question you should be asking isn't just, how do I write a viral script? The real question is, what is the story that I, and only I, am uniquely excited and able to tell? Find the answer to that, and you've found the real secret.